Obviously, the NBA season starts next week. We're going to do our NBA Finals predictions next week. I'm going to do my full playoff predictions this coming Thursday on Brandon's World. That link will be in the description below. Josh, I'm just going to ask you what it says on the screen. What are your expectations for the Cleveland Cavaliers this year?
They need to get back to the playoffs. And here's the thing. I would love to see them face the Boston Celtics in the playoffs. Ideally, the second round. But in general, that's where the Cavaliers need to get back to, is at least the second round. The problem last season against the Knicks in the playoffs is we didn't have any shooters around Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. And so the Knicks were able to just collapse the lane, cut off the lane, cut off
the paint.
Yes, cut off the paint. Thank you very much. And it made it very difficult on Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell. So the Cavs realize that. So what do? They go out and get Ty Jerome, George Niang, Max Strus, who are three very good shooters. I'm not going to say they're great shooters, but they're very good. So they should help with the spacing. But here's my big question. What do the Cavaliers do with Jared Allen? Because maybe the two big man approach isn't working. I don't know.
So give me a couple minutes, because I think you may be the only person yet I have not pitched this to. And I want to see your reaction, because I have brought on many guests from our time at Believe One Media, including my former co-host of the All Things Cavs podcast, Joey Snyder. I have brought on many various guests and from other organizations that I've worked at, and I talked to them about the Cavs, and I have made this trade suggestion. So I've been making it all the way back since April, when the Cavs lost that first round series to the Knicks. I was laying in my bed that night, the night of Game 5. Cavs obviously losing 5. They're getting bullied by the Knicks in those 5 games. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting, and obviously, right, this is before the draft. So this is before any moves or anything like that happened. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting there going, well, everybody wants to trade Jared Allen, but I don't love Evan Mobley at the 5. I think his body's more fit to be at the 4, and I don't think you're going to get anything for Jared Allen at this point. So I'm like, who is the one guy? Because we know that the Cavs, even now, even with the free agent acquisitions, the Cavs need a wing. And I thought, who is the one guy the Cavs could actually trade that I think could actually benefit both teams? And Josh, I'm sitting there and I'm going, you call the Los Angeles Clippers and you say to them, you can choose which one you want to give us, Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. I probably lean more towards Paul George because of the less injury history, because he can play more games. And we will give you Darius Garland. So hear me out on this. It solves the Cavs' wing issue, because you could put Paul George at the 3. You would slide LeVert to the 2, Mitchell to the 1. Your starting lineup becomes Mitchell, LeVert, George, Mobley, Allen. The Clippers, the Paul George, Kawhi Leonard experiment, had not worked. They need to move on, in my opinion, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, more next week, from one of those two wings. They need a point guard. It's why they tried so desperately to get James Harden this summer. It's why they went out. It's why they went out and got Russell Westbrook at the end of last year, because they need a distributor. To me, that is one of the most even trades that you can make, because me and you talked about before. The problem with Colin Sexton when he was in Cleveland and the Garland experiment was you had 2 6'1" guards that didn't play a lot of defense. It was never going to work. Garland and Mitchell are of almost that same sentiment. They are very small guards. That Mitchell was a little bit of a better defender, but they don't play a ton of defense. So to me, the only way you're going to improve this team to get a legitimate wing is to trade one of those guards. I love Mobley and Allen defensively at the 4 and the 5. I think it can work together. I think the guy that if they're going to make a big splash, the one you trade is Garland.
Interesting. I hadn't even thought about it. I don't know if I would pull the trigger on it, but I do understand your reasoning. I totally understand your reasoning. I just don't know if I would pull the trigger on it, if that makes sense.
You had almost the same reaction that I've asked. I've asked 10 people about this trade. Nobody knew, and I brought it up to them. Every single time on the podcast, they all have the same reaction. Huh? You know what? That's not even that bad of a trade. Because to me, the logic is, and here's my thing about the Cavs, and I agree with you, and we'll get to the MLB and all that in a minute. I want to just address this real quick.
Sure.
That I agree with you wholeheartedly. The Cavs have to at least win one playoff series this year. And I like Struz, and I like Niang, and I like Jerome, and I like the additions they had. Me and you both don't trust JB Bickerstaff as head coach. That is number one. And I don't know if these additions are going to put the Cavs over the top. And as I've said before, and I just said it again, I know Evan Mobley has put on 7 pounds of muscle. I still don't think his body is made to play center in the NBA. I think he is a Kevin Garnett, Tim Duncan light power forward.
That's an interesting comparison. Because I've seen other statements that the Cavs want him to be like Giannis. Have you heard that?
I have, and I don't see it. I do.
And I can understand that.
I do think Amani Bates is the wild card in this whole thing. If Amani Bates, the kid they drafted, if he's as good as some people think he is, the Cavs may be onto something here because they need more bench depth. And they obviously they needed another backup guard, which is what Jerome will do. But they're a very good team. They're not a great team. And I think in order to reach that great team status, you think about it, Weiss, dangling Garland. It's too late now. But I'm just saying in the offseason, that's what I would have done.
Okay. But that for me, the biggest thing is the Cavs were once Garland and Mitchell tried to get into the paint, the Knicks just said, no, you're not coming in here. And you couldn't rely on Isaac Okoro to shoot a beach ball in the ocean.
No, and that was why, and they knew it, and they needed an upgraded wing. And for everybody that said LeVert played well in the playoffs, I'm sorry, he really didn't. And Mitchell, for that matter, did not play well in the playoffs. And Garland did not play well in the playoffs. So did the Jared Allen comment on the lights were too bright? Did that concern me? Absolutely it did. But let's not pretend like everybody in the Cavs played well. Nobody in that series played well. When you have two big guys and you're getting outboarded by Mitchell Robinson and Obi Toppin and those guys, that was embarrassing.
Oh, yeah.
That series, I don't care. And I remember, I know I wasn't on the Believe in All Things Cavs podcast at that point, but I think I told you this, or I know I told Joey this. When they won game 2, I said they're not winning another game. The Knicks are not going to play that bad again. The Cavs are not going to play that great again. The series is over. And I was right.
Game 1 was a must-win for the Cavaliers.
Game 1 was the series. I mean, once you watch that, there went all the momentum.
You know what's interesting, though, is how we just said Game 1 was a must-win for the Cavs last season. Go back to the Western Conference Finals in 2018. Houston Rockets against the Golden State Warriors. The Rockets had home court advantage. They were the number 1 seed. But we still said Game 1 was a must-win for the Rockets. And what happened? They lost. And the rest, is, as they say, is history. So it's just an interesting parallel there.
Well, that is great memory.